Grant, thank you so much for doing this interview with me for Frequency. I'm really looking forward to hearing more about your process and hear a little bit more about you personally. So, if you don't mind sharing your name and where you're based.
Yeah, my name's Grant Foxon, and I'm based in Shropshire in the UK.
Okay. My first question to you is what motivates you to do the things you do?
Well, I think what motivates when it comes to writing, I think you're just a writer. I think it's something that just like some people are good at sport, some people have blue eyes. It's almost something that's sort of some genetic predisposition that you have. It's something in you that you have to get out. So really, it's not so much a case of what makes you do it. You have to do it. The harder thing would be just ignoring it and not trying to write or do whatever artistic endeavor that you're blessed with.
And so it sounds like you've been a writer for a while then.
Yeah, well, I mean, I can say that I've been a writer since I was born, since I was four, writing stories. It's something that's just there, you know.
hmm Wow, very cool. What sorts of things were you writing? Just all kind of stories, any particular genres or themes that you would write you growing up from maybe not when you were four, but like as a younger person until now, is there something that you kind of gravitate towards?
Yeah, I've predominantly written comedy. That's my yeah that's the genre which, well, it's my favorite genre, and I think it's the one which most sort of chimes with me. So that's the one that I sort of naturally go to. But I don't think that there's that big a difference between we think there's big differences between genres, but I don't think there is. I mean, if you compare horror and comedy, now on the face of it, they've got absolutely nothing in common. But if you think about it, both rely on a punchline. Either the horror with that scare, you're building towards that scare in exactly the same way. In
hmm
comedy, you're building towards that big laugh. The structure is remarkably similar. It's just like the skin around it that's completely different.
That's so true. I had not thought of how similar it is. And there are just probably small tweaks, but like it could
Mm,
be the same story, and they just had a tiny little I don't even know what it would be, but just the tiniest tweak can make it from comedy to horror or
yeah,
otherwise. That's so
that,
interesting. I hadn't thought of that.
that there's an expression that the difference between tragedy and comedy is time. That's the only difference.
Mm-hmm. Hmm. Wow. Now I need to go back and look at all these comedies that I've watched recently and be like, what could change the tragedy? Be very interesting. Well, if you're a comedy writer, what drew you to doing Frequency, which is a definitely a horror?
Because I mean, comedy's my favorite, but I really like horror. I've written some horror things before, um, and I mean, I find everything interesting. I'm lucky. I don't understand how people can be bored by something because there's so much stuff to out there to sort of learn and things and yeah, and I love horror. I love comedy. I love horror. I love just writing. And again, when you approach it from how I was just saying, that essentially it's the same sort of system, working towards that moment, that scare, that laugh. Really, when you look at it from that perspective, there isn't that much of a difference.
Mm.
It's just
Yeah.
you're just generating a different emotion in your audience, but you're still getting to that emotion in exactly the same way.
hmm Interesting. Okay. Have you written anything horror recently or?
Yeah. So a couple of years ago, I wrote a horror uh, called The Bleed, which um, played the cinema over here in a film festival, and that was a piece that just had three women in it. Didn't have any men in the cast at all.
Mhm.
and but it was dealing with the effects of toxic masculinity. And I can't. It's one of those I can't really tell you more without it massively giving, because it relies on a twist in there. Um,
Sure.
and then I wrote another shorter horror called Sublime Aspect of Shadow, which was partly influenced by that famous case in Germany in the 2000s when those two men agreed to meet and one asked the other to actually eat him. And they had to change they had to change the law in Germany because there was no law in place for what happens if a person wants to be killed and eaten, and there was significant evidence that that was the case. So they had to then rush through because it hadn't occurred to them, and it was quite a famous case. And so it's to do with sort of that. And the one aspect of horror which I've never been that really into is sort of serial killers and things like that. But because this had a completely different spin on it, because you're approaching it from the perspective of the person wants to be eaten, that to me was much more interesting. And you
Oh,
could,
100%.
yeah, you could just explore so many more things than you could explore if it was just like a person targeting a person.
Wow. I had not heard that case, but I think I saw like a sketch in America on probably that
Mm.
thing. Um, ugh, yeah, what a weird story. Um, Interesting. Okay. What has been, so you've done audio dramas before, correct? So what's your process been like for this particular story?
This has been more enjoyable because I like it when you're writing on your when you just writing on your own. There's no real limit, which is a good thing because you can let your imagination run as free as it wants to. But then you really do need limits because you can keep going and going and going forever, you know. And what I really enjoyed about this process, I I actually like working one thing with other writers, but I also like the fact that you helped to sort of build together the actual structure of the piece. So it was like quite clearly defined that this is where we're getting to this, and then it became okay. So within this framework, what can I do to link it up with these people's work, but at the same time also have the freedom within that framework to come up with stuff, and that I found much more enjoyable because you've got a bit of both. You can allow your imagination to run wild, but then you've also got boundaries where it will only go to this point here, and I think that makes the whole process more fun, I think.
Yeah, it's been really great to watch all of you um just take it and run with it and do some incredible stuff. Yeah, I am so in awe of the pieces that you've written just because your imagination goes so far and I love it. And I would never have pictured something like that. And I think it's great. So it's been so great to watch you all go through your own process and work together and create something that is unimaginably better than I could.
But what I mean, we could only do that though because you set the thing in pace to
Well,
begin with.
yeah, well, appreciate it. But you guys it's your show. It's really your show. And I'm just happy to be sort of part of it. So, have you had any challenges that you've overcome through this process? Has it been, is this a new thing for you? Anything that's been sort of sticky?
The only new part, like I've worked with writers before, but generally with a co-writer, you're working on the same bit of story. Your what short film, whatever it is, you're working on that together. What's been different here, and I wouldn't say challenge because I've enjoyed the process, is having the series broken up into three with each writer sort of being given, right, these are yours, these are yours, these are yours, these are yours, and then sort of marrying that up. I think
Mm.
that's been new for me, and it's been very enjoyable to approach it that way because it's something different, and then it I think it keeps the whole story fresh because you've got these people's ideas and you've got these people's ideas, and then you've just got this common narrative going all the way through. And yeah, I think it really adds to keeping it fresh, and I think it's a really nice way to approach things.
Very cool. Yeah, we haven't it will be interesting once we have all of the pieces together and we can see kind of the
Yeah.
through line and see what we need to change. So yeah, it'll be exciting and yeah, a little bit of a challenge, but I'm looking forward to it for sure. Very cool. Do you have any like goals for the show or any hopes for yourself personally with the story?
I mean, I hope it's embraced and enjoyed by as many people as possible.
Mm.
Um, Regarding for myself, in a weird way, no, because what I'm hoping is that despite the three of us, the three writers, all being, different people, different ideas, I think you've already pointed out different sort of focuses on the story. And so my hope is that actually you can't tell when it shifts from writer to writer. I think that would be the best thing if it's that cohesive that you don't know, oh, hang on, this episode is clearly written by someone else. So in that respect, there's not so much for myself, because I want the whole piece to come together so perfectly that you can't tell this is this writer, this is this writer, and this is this writer.
Yeah, that will be that's a great goal to have for the show and definitely an interesting exercise as a writer that you can maybe take on later if you're ever in another writer room, like how to morph and sort
Mm,
of create the
absolutely.
same voice. Yeah. Very cool. Lovely. My last question is just any other endeavors you're working on? Anything you are currently in the process of doing?
Yeah, rehearsals for a play which is doing a mini tour in Scotland, and it's a comedy called SOS, and it's about three members of an ABBA tribute band who are trapped in a lift.
Very lovely. Very cool. Are you were the writer there, or are
Yeah,
you also acting, or
no, I'm just the writer.
lovely? Very cool. Awesome. Well, good luck to that performance. When is
Thank
it
you very much.
showing?
I should know that. It's, I think, the middle of July. I think.
Oh, coming up. Okay. Lovely. Well, thank you so much for this miniature interview.
Thank
And I
you.
look forward so much to continuing getting to write and work with you. So thank you.
Thank you very much. Me too.